Anybody out there? I'm back. Anybody still out there? Thought I'd stop back in. Hey, 69 mowers, you back? Yeah, I'm back. I think we got the issue sorted out. Mike, how you doing? Harold Fisher, welcome. So I forget where we left off. I don't know if everybody's I don't know who's all gonna come back on. But where do we leave off? Something with inverter generators and oh, I was gonna talking about the video. Victor, how you doing? I'm doing well. Things are good. We should try to merge these live streams, huh? I'm not sure how to do that. So I think I was saying before I had to take that phone call, I'd like to do a video somewhere along the lines of if you needed to buy a generator, or if you needed a generator of some kind for either home backup or use on the job site or something like that, if you needed a genset, could you buy or acquire an old Onan genset or some old unit and fix it up, make it useful for at about or less than what you would pay for a new generator, say a Harbor Freight Predator or something like that. Kind of a, not really a comparison, but just to see if it's feasible to do in that way. I'm trying to think of a good way to describe it, and I can't. What time is it? It's 8:43 p.m., Oliver. That's Eastern Standard Time. So like I said, I was on the on Googling around today, and let me check. I'm gonna actually leave that open. On Harbor Freight's website, you can get a 4,000 some watt Predator generator. Let's see what they got here. So they're selling a 3,500 watt continuous rated generator, 4375 surge watts for $400. So the question is, could you purchase, repair, and set up an old Onan RV generator pull-out, or just some old thing that you find on Craigslist? And I don't mean something from the 90s. I mean something from the 60s or the 50s. Could you set it up and have yourself a reliable generator? And how would it stand up compared to something you could buy on the modern in the modern market? I'm going to use the Predator as the example because they seem to get good reviews. Here's Predator generators got 4.5-star review, almost 5-star review. So must be doing something right. Allen, Magnum generators. I don't know what the only Magnums I know of are big Marathon generators. Marathon's the manufacturer. I'm going to have to Google that name. Magnum. Oh, that's funny. I didn't even put two and two together. They're the rental company, not the rental company, but they make a lot of units for the rental market. But I would imagine that they probably use a decent generator end, probably a Stanford or a Leroy Somer generator end, and whatever run-of-the-mill diesel engine you can get nowadays, John Deere or a Suzu or something like that. They're owned by Generac. I didn't know that. Huh. Now, if they're owned by Generac, it's a coin toss. You never know what you're going to get with Generac. Victor, are there any Gensets powered by Detroit diesels? Absolutely, there are. I was working on one yesterday. Yeah, Jonathan, that's exactly what I want to do in this video I'm planning. Just somebody, I see these old Onan RV generators for sale on Craigslist all the time, and they're literally everywhere. And what I want to know is if money mattered, if you were the kind of person that didn't want to work if having a generator wasn't a hobby for you, then could you buy an old Onan, make it reliable, and use it as a home standby genset? Because oftentimes with these old Onans, that owning the generator and repairing the generator and tinkering with it it's why I do it. It's the hobby. At least it's why I do it. But for the homeowner or the end user, that a generator is just a tool, could one of those old Onans really stand up to the reliability and convenience of something you can buy at Harbor Freight, for example? Would it have the longevity even? You're talking possible 40-year-old generator. Is it going to have the longevity of, even, like I said, this Harbor Freight Predator thing that I'm looking at right now? I mean, what can you expect to get out of the Predator? What model is this? The 4375 Predator. Conceivably, how many runtime hours are you going to get out of it? How reliable is it going to start? Most people, if they buy a generator for home standby, probably won't put 100 hours of use on it in its life. I'm doing a lot of rambling here. Yeah, a lot of Detroits out there. Aaron, greetings from Oregon. Oregon, huh? Wow, you're on the other side of the country. Big G2. Nope, I sold that little Onan, that 3200 diesel. That's gone. Yeah, Wayne, that's a pretty good deal. Those, like I said, those reefer generators, they're made to run many thousands of hours. Gas or diesel, iron or aluminum block, 36 versus 1800 RPM. Mike, well, gas or diesel depends what you have access to. Gasoline is not the best generator fuel. Generators will suck it down, and it goes bad. Diesel's nice. It's easy to transport. Doesn't go bad as easily as gasoline. But they tend to be more expensive than gas generators. Iron or aluminum block, well, you can have an aluminum block. It's got to have an iron cylinder on it, though. Most larger generators are going to have an iron block. 36 versus 1800, well, that's pretty self-explanatory. 1800 would be preferred. Engine Vids, how you doing? Yeah, Jonathan, that this is exactly what I'm thinking of doing. As a matter of fact, I'm going to pick up a couple old Onan RV Gensets tomorrow, And that's exactly what I want to know. If I've got this Onan Genset, it was just sitting here on the ground. Can I make it? Can I get it to a point where if the house lost power, could I wheel it outside, start it up, and hook it up to the house as simply as you could rather with one of those Harbor Freight generators? And could you do it for a similar amount of money? You know, because the Onan, it's basically just an engine and a generator. It's got no fuel tank on it. It's got no receptacles on it. It's got no means to wheel it around. It's heavy. Just the Onan, just the Genset itself probably weighs more than the entire Predator unit. So obviously, there's a lot of work needs to be put into it to make it useful. Aaron, thank you for the compliment there. Victor, yeah, home backup generators just becoming a thing now, huh? Yeah. Well, you know, we've had a couple of hurricanes in the East Coast here over the past few years, and they seem to be. People say they're becoming more frequent, but I think people are just becoming more addicted to electricity, really. So when the power does go out, it hits them a little harder. So I mean, every electrician out here has a Generac logo on the side of their trucks, and they're selling those Generac home standbys. So, I mean, geez, if I can think of it. I've seen a couple houses around me have them. Aaron, when will I return to the radial Briggs? I don't know. When I retire, when I have some time on my hands. Jesse, what are my thoughts on diesel military surplus gensets? I have some thoughts on those things. One is they're typically way overcomplicated for what they are, for what they need to be, and parts can be a pain. The engine is the engine is the engine, the generator is the generator. It's the control system that needs to be gutted and just put simple controls in. Yeah, the 4,000 watt Onan on the cart. That's exactly what I want to do. Do I know any stocks to invest in? No, I do not. I don't keep up with that kind of stuff. Sorry. I would say anything in the technology market. It seems like that's all it's booming nowadays anyway. Apple, invest in Apple. Come up with a new iPhone every year. Oh, it's good to know. You got a mitzvah owning new old stock parts. Good to know. Yeah, like I said, I'm picking up a couple old Onan RV generators tomorrow. So once I see what I actually have, I'll determine in what direction that video will go. Paul From Manitoba, huh? Welcome. Marcus, no, I can't say I have experience with liquid-cooled Hondas. I think I've seen a few of those in some RVs, though. Down to a science, yeah. Bring back the radial brakes. Yeah, that thing is so buried now in Road King's garage. I don't even know where it's at, to be honest with you. It's probably a little bit over here and a little bit over there, a little bit on the shelf. We should get that back out sometime. Yeah, Alan Isuzu. Isuzu's a good quality diesel. I have one. It's an Airman. That's the. Is it an Airman? No, who makes that? It's an Atlas Copco. Atlas Copco Genset with an Isuzu on it. It's a good running engine. It's modern. It's common rail, high pressure fuel injection. So good engine though. Quiet. Yeah, I've worked on Wisconsin engines. Yeah, all, all different kinds. They're a good engine. All right, take it easy, Victor. Thanks for stopping in. Yeah, definitely with the Honda inverter. When they go bad, you pretty much might as well toss the thing out. Try to find another one. Oh, Mike, that's an interesting idea. How fast, conceivably, how fast can those electric cars recharge? You know, if you had a 100 kilowatt generator mounted on the back of your truck, how quickly could you pump juice back into somebody's battery? But I guess you wouldn't need to you really don't need to get them up to full charge. You just need to get them to the nearest charging station or to home. So what would it take? Maybe, I don't know. I have no idea. Half an hour or so of charging to bring the battery in a car back up to a point where they could drive some distance. I really don't know. I don't know really anything about electric cars. Got a Wisconsin AEN, huh? Won't idle down. It's gasoline, but only run at full throttle. What does that have? A Zenith carburetor on it? I think that's what they typically used. If I'm not mistaken, there's a little tube when you take the lower float bowl, or when you take the float bowl off. There's a tube near the venturi it feeds the idle adjustment screw, which is up kind of adjacent to the throttle butterfly. Maybe that tube is clogged. I think that's the idle circuit, but don't quote me on that. Everything okay with your valves on that AEN? They're all adjusted in spec. Jeff, I would say, yeah, Onan should run fine on propane. Depends which one you use it for. You're going to get a little less power out of it. You might not get your full 6.5 kilowatt. You might go down to 5.5 or 6, but propane's nice. Doesn't smell as bad as gasoline when it burns. You don't get those fumes like a old carbureted engine. Burns cleaner too. Mack is making a hybrid truck, huh? Well, that's interesting. Now, Sean, how you doing? I didn't know you were in Oregon. Jeez. What is it? It's 5 or 6 o'clock out there now? It's 9 o'clock out here in New Jersey. Clock says it's 9 o'clock. Alan, a good 10 kilowatt load bank. Or is that 10,000 watt? That looks like a period there after the 10. Is that a period or a comma? You're looking for a, or no, you said kilowatt. 10,000 kilowatt? You're looking for a 10,000 kilowatt load bank or a 10 kilowatt load bank? Big difference there. That little load bank, that little simplex I have is a nice load bank. You might, I hate to always have this answer, but eBay is a great place. There, you might be able to find one on some of the surplus auction sites as well. Still won't idle for you, huh? How's the throttle shaft bushing on those Wisconsin, those Zenith carburetors? There's typically bushings in the carburetor body, and there's also seals for the throttle shaft. Check those and see how worn out, how worn the shaft is, the throttle shaft. If there's play in the carburetor, or if that shaft can wiggle around a little bit, anything really. And then check those the seals, the throttle shaft seals. If you have an air leak, you're never going to get it to run right. That's one of the problems with that little Onan that I worked on last weekend. That throttle shaft is just so loose. The Cat D7E diesel electric drive. Propane dual fuel engines. Pretty handy, that's for sure. That's what I would say. I mean, if you can run gasoline or propane, it's good to have both. If I was going to set up a unit, I would have it like that. Being I have natural gas at the house, I eventually want to put one in to burn the natural gas, and I'll have a diesel unit as backup in case the gas ever gets shut off. Definitely nice to have options for fuel. The only thing with propane I don't like is, if your bottle's empty, you can't quite refill the bottle at home. You have to get it, go and have it refilled or get it exchanged, depending on how big your bottle is. with gasoline or diesel or a liquid fuel, it's easy to transport. You just pour it out of one container into another. You don't have to worry if you have the incorrect fittings or what. How you doing, Carl? Yeah, Alan, 10 kilowatt. I figured 10 kilowatt. Yeah, I mean, there's a few companies that make smaller load banks, so that they're out there. You have to you have to be vigilant. Let's see. Let's check eBay now and see what they have in the load bank department. Oh, actually, not a great selection. I'm surprised. Let me change my search criteria a little bit. Huh, you know what? That's funny. That little simplex load bank that I have, there's an identical one on eBay right now. It looks identical. It's got a couple extra terminals on the front. Oh, those are just fuse holders. Okay. Wow, $1,600. That's well, he's got to make offer. You can make him an offer there, Alan. I guess I got a good deal on the one I bought. Colin, how you doing? Yeah, at work, our big load bank is trailer mounted. It's 1.25 megawatt capacity. I've taken it up pretty high. I think I've put about 900 kilowatt on it. And man, does it throw some heat off. I don't know what's crackling. Crack-a-lacking. I don't know if you could send me a video. You could try emailing it, or emailing a link to a video. My email's on my channel. Yeah, Colin, the radio Briggs is still there. It exists. It hasn't been junked or anything. Get burnt out? I don't know if I got burnt out on it, but just other things are taking my time up. I know it's been years, but yeah, sorry. It's one of those things we'll get back to eventually. Yeah, Wayne, you got the right idea with the homemade load banks. just about anything, any resistive device can become a load bank if your imagination runs wild. Initially, my first load bank was it was a squirrel cage blower from an old air conditioner, and I found a great deal on these metal rods about, I don't know, about a foot long. They're called cartridge heaters. They're for heating like injection molding equipment. And there was a surplus house right in the area where I worked. It had tons of them, different wattages, different voltages for very cheap. And I made like a piece of duct work that could go on to the discharge of that squirrel cage blower, and just some toggle switches to switch them in and out. It worked really well. Clamp on amp meter and a voltmeter tell you everything you need to know. Dave, full throttle startups. Any issue with this, an emergency backup gensets. Well, in the world, out in the industry, that's all they are for emergency standby. It's the NFPA spec is for healthcare is 10 seconds from the power going out. Power's got to be back on and on the generator. So really, that gives the genset, say, a few seconds, 5 seconds, 6 seconds to crank, start, ramp up to speed, and make rated voltage, and the transfer switch to transfer to the genset in 10 seconds. That can be a little bit of a demanding task, depending on the age of the equipment and the condition of the equipment. But of course, all those gensets are on one. They're mostly diesel. You don't see many natural gas gensets doing critical life safety stuff, especially in hospitals. Pretty much everything's diesel, and all of those diesels have a block heater, and even an oil heater as well. But it's definitely a hard life for a genset, going right to full rated speed from cold after sitting for up to a month. For smaller gensets like residential units and air-cooled units, yeah, I mean, they do it. So does a lawnmower. That's what's nice about an 1800 RPM genset. With those modern home standby units, they're all V-twin air-cooled engines, and they're going right from 0 to 3,600 RPM. Whereas if you were going to go with an older 1800 RPM model, it only has to run at half the speed, so it only has to ramp up to half the RPM. Save a little bit of wear and tear on the genset or generator. Really? Why were you mitzvah? Why were you running that for 24 hours? Was that a testing requirement for the customer? The NFPA requires for healthcare a 30-minute loaded run once a month. So it's interesting that you ran it for 24 hours a month. It's a lot of hours accumulated over a number of years. 16 V71. That genset must have been, well, Christ, 35 years old now, at least. Yeah, the NFPA spec for healthcare is a building load transfer once a month. So transfer switch gets exercised, the genset gets exercised, And if you do not meet 30% of the gens rating, you need an annual load bank to 75%. Yeah, yeah, Mitzvah. It's funny. What did I yesterday? I was working on a 12V149 Detroit in Philadelphia. You talk about noise. Whew, my gosh, you could feel that thing pounding in your chest, and that's when it's running. Didn't really have any engine problem. The main problem was the voltage regulator on the one I was working on yesterday. I've had some weird issues over the past few weeks with that one, and I thought I had it straightened out about a week ago, but the customer called up and said he was still having voltage issues. So I went out and tested a few more things, and I swapped in a spare regulator I had on hand, and I was able to get the voltage under control. Had a lot of speed droop though. It was using a Woodward PSG governor, but I was able to get that straightened out. But the droop setting was off on the governor for some reason. I don't know if somebody tampered with it or what, but yeah, it was clearly had been moved, because the old Woodward governors, the PSBs and PSGs, the old PSGs and the UG8s, the big hydraulic governors, that's old technology, but when they're right, they'll hold engine speed like nothing else. They'll hold engine speed like a modern electronic governor. So got that sorted out. Hopefully it's all good now. Scott's got the idea. Just go around to all the thrift stores and Salvation Army stores and pick up them toasters. What are they, 1,000 watts or so? That's good. Sean, favorite brand of genset? Onins or Kohlers, whatever, you name it. Any of the good old American names. Always good stuff. Richard, how you doing? Chris, how you doing? Yes, Chris, you're right. A lot of facilities are employing UPSs nowadays. The only problem, I've had some issues with UPSs not playing nice on generator power. UPSs tend to have I don't want to say a bad power factor, but I've had a couple installations where they'll put a harmonic back on the generator line, and especially if the generator's got a new like digital not governor, a digital voltage regulator, can mess with the voltage regulator and make the voltage go all screwy. So there's one unit in particular that I can think of. I think it's a 100 kilowatt diesel generator set. It's doing is running it's powering a UPS bank. I think it's a 40 or 50 kVA UPS bank, and then some AC, air conditioning units for a data center, and it does not play well with that UPS. I don't know what we're going to do with that. Wayne, that's interesting. That is creative. Wow. Steel plate falls if one's lost, yanks on the starter. That's interesting. That is some interesting stuff. Very reliable, though, I would guess. You don't have to worry about a bunch of relay contactors and controls glitching or getting dirty. That coil de-energizes. you're cranking. You can't argue with gravity. Zach Life. Yeah, see, we don't really. Well, we plan engine shows, but we never know if we're going to be there or not. But there's hundreds of shows. Depends where you are in the states. Hundreds of engine shows across the country. Oh, Mitzvah, you were doing nuclear site work. Yeah, I guess they would have some pretty stringent testing requirements. Oh, hello. Hello. Bye. 24 hours per year, 2 hours per month. Okay, that's pretty reasonable. 2 hours per month is great. And you load bank it. So what's the Mitzvah? What's the capacity of that Genset? 16V71. What's that unit rated at? Hello. I think one of my customers has a 16V92. A couple of those, three 16V92s. It's at a hospital, and they're about 650 kilowatt. What's your 1671 Genset rated at? Mitzvah. Okay, so you did closed transition switching, so the load never saw the blink. Yeah, Chris. I see that problem once in a while. I mean, this Genset is not sized correctly. I feel for the UPS that it's handling. So I don't know. And there's something interesting as well about it. I don't quite remember, but I think the Genset is 208. It's 208 three-phase connected, but it was ordered incorrectly, if I'm not mistaken. The equipment it's powering is all 480 volt gear, so they put a transformer directly off the Genset to boost it to 480 and send it to the UPS and the air conditioners. So I don't know if the combination of having a purely inductive transformer load, then feeding a UPS is causing issues. I really don't know. I haven't looked that far into it. I really need to put a power analyzer on the system with a scope so I can really see what's going on. Colin, issues with an antique generator Yeah, it does seem a little bit high, Colin, for 60 hertz. If you were running up to like 62 hertz, I would say that's fine. But if you're that high at 60 hertz, yeah, you might even have an issue in the field coil somewhere. I don't know. What happens when you put a load on it? Like say, if you loaded the gen to 50% load, what does the voltage come down to? 133 Dave. No, I haven't seen that. Little turbine generator. Nope. Mitzvah, actually, I've been to the Long Island Antique Power display grounds. They actually they donated a UD16 engine as a parts donor for my UD16 powered generator set. So that took a ride out there to pick that up. Nice guys out there. Sean, yeah, you've had this similar UPS issues. Yeah. UPS is being that they're like a switching power supply. I don't know what it is. Some of them they'll put some back EMF or some kind of harmonic back on the generator, and if they're electronically regulated, it'll mess with them. I don't know if maybe you could put some filter capacitors on the line, something to kind of. I don't even know if that would help you. Filter capacitors, maybe. I don't know. Run it through an isolation transformer. I don't know. Yeah, saw that Scout, that cat. That's our youngest kid. He's not a kitten, but the youngest kitty, Scout. Chris, that's about it. And I had to keep it out of sight. She knows it's there, but she can't see it. Oh yeah, Genset with a hydraulic hand pump starter. I have never seen one of those in person. I'd like to play around with one. Have you ever seen the spring starters that they sell? They're it has the body of a starter motor, but it's got a crank in it. You wind up a big clockwork spring and trip the lever, and it cranks the engine for brief time. But if the engine's in good shape, it'll usually light off. 350. Okay. Did you load bank it to 100%? I'm guessing, Mitzvah. When you did your 2-hour test, did you go to 100% load, or did you keep it down to like 80 or 75? I would guess if it's nuclear testing, they wanted you to go to 100% load, which for an old Detroit, it's probably best to be there. They don't like running lightly loaded. Yeah, Steven, I'm back. Yes. Yep, all computer controlled. Frozen. Why? The picture not moving? Wayne, have I ever sanded brushes to size? Yes. I've actually used a hacksaw to trim them as well. I'm trying to get more comfortable here. Yeah, I've had to buy them just to get the correct length. I've had to buy them significantly larger than I needed, and use a hacksaw blade to cut cut them, sand them, and file them. You know, gotta do what you gotta do. Yeah, the mitts for the wide delta starters. You don't see many of them. At least I don't. I only typically see those on fire pumps. Fire pumps to kind of ease the load on the genset and the coupling. Yeah, that's really what I want to see, Scott. I think I jumped a couple comments. Sorry, but that's really what I want to see. Is I mean, I don't own any modern gensets, so what I want to know is if you can take something, an old Onan, for example, old RV pullout, something that's common that you could pick up for, you know, $50, $100, put a little bit of time and effort into it, and have it be equal to something you would purchase now as far as convenience, really. Something you can roll out of the garage and start up, and would it really work as well as a new unit? Because I have to say, from what I understand, a lot of the Predator units are a good buy. They work well. Fuel efficiency is another thing I'm curious on as well. There's new Predator single-cylinder overhead valve units running at 3,600 RPM. What's their fuel efficiency like compared to an old Onan? You know the old Onan's going to suck down the fuel. Big opposed twin flathead typically. Colin, so you're reading that 135 volts at 50% load and at 60 hertz? Yeah, there's something's amiss in that generator end. Yeah, no problem, Sean. I don't know what you could do to correct that UPS. What issues are you having with the generator? Is it pretty much voltage and is it a genset that has an automatic voltage regulator? It's not a capacitor regulated generator set or anything like that, right? Yeah, I'm trying to think about your problem, Colin. There's no chance that that your field coils could have shorted a couple windings, right? Causing your field current to go up. You said you had some mice in the generator end. Nah, would overheat, huh? Mitzvah, huh? All right, have a good night, Wayne. Take it easy. Oh man, I'm way behind on the comments here. Hang on. Have a good night, Wayne. Yeah, Jeff. The old fluorescent lamp ballasts. A lot of harmonics. Bad power factor too. No good. Ooh, yeah, that's no good. Oh man, I can only imagine that. Nah, it's not really the office. It's just the sunroom. American Fiend. Yeah, Mitzvah. Yep, you're absolutely right. Their lightweight gensets would be heavy by today's standards, but they had the aluminum block OTC engines way back then. So, yep, that was a pretty revolutionary compact power plant there. You didn't see the email there? I'll put it on there. I'll have to go check. Yeah, exactly, Scott. That's why when I do this comparison, which I'm gonna do the video at some point. I think it'll make a good project. Um, I think the Predator is really the best bang for the buck as far as what I've read in reviews. You know, you can spend $900 on a Honda and get the same. Well, I guess the Predator is going to have the same label on it as far as capacity, but will it hold that capacity? Well, that's yet to be seen. No, just wanted to click on and off. Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know. What's the voltage doing, Sean, when it's trying to kick on and off? Are you seeing a drop in voltage or a spike up in voltage? What about frequency? UPSs, from what I understand, can be a little bit sensitive to that as well. Too fast or too slow, and they won't connect. Scott, yeah, a little bit far back, huh? I don't want to miss anything. Colin, yeah, don't run it slow. Don't run it at 55 hertz. You don't know what you're gonna, if you're connected to something, electric motor or something like that, it'll tend to heat up if you run it at too low of a frequency. So keep that frequency right about 60 hertz, but like I said, clean your slip rings. That's a good recommendation. Clean your DC commutator. Make sure that the mica between the commutator bars is cut down. Yeah, Jeff, that's what I was thinking. Short a turn on the field. Yeah, Onan made some interesting things. I will say that for sure. One that I would really like to find would be the air-cooled opposed twin diesel that they made back in the 60s. I'd like to find that unit. Sean, a drop in voltage, then a spike. Yeah. You know what? I'll bet you any amount of money there's a big capacitor inside that UPS that as soon as the input relay or whatever switch closes, that capacitor is probably drawing the full nameplate amp rating of the UPS to charge itself up, and that's what's bringing the voltage down. And then the spike is when that capacitor charges or that relay opens up, the voltage is going to jump back up. It's interesting. Well, going back to Colin's problem, I think I'm pretty sure I have a similar issue with one of my Onans in the shop there. One of the old, I think it's a KV1 set, and I have almost the same problem as you do, Colin. Running at 60 hertz, I'm seeing 135, 140 volts, which is unacceptable, really. So I don't know. If it's a shorted field coil, and if there's a couple shorted turns in the field coil, I would be inclined, if it's not shorted to ground anywhere, I would be inclined to just add some field resistance in and call it good, to be honest with you. As long as you don't overheat the coil after that, you don't overload the generator set. And if the generator is not doing anything critical, it's not going to leave you stranded out in the middle of Alaska with no heat, then I would just add some series resistance in that field coil and get it working. At least try it out and kind of prove your theory. Yeah, Mitzvah, I know. Chinese stuff is holding up. It just doesn't feel right to rely upon it, right? Yeah, Sean. It's got to be some kind of capacitor's a dead short until it gets charged up. and depending on the capacity of your genset and how quickly the voltage regulator is going to react, it'll pull the output right down. And then if it is electronically voltage regulated, then you're going to get that spike. I guarantee it. The problem is I'm not sure how you would go about correcting that. You know, I'm almost thinking you could kind of fight fire with that, Sean. If you put a capacitor across your generator output, I have no idea what rating you would choose. Maybe open the UPS up and see what size that is. Put a capacitor across your line feeding the UPS, then turn the UPS on. Maybe the one capacitor that's already charged would discharge into the UPS capacitor, or that might just make the problem worse. I don't know. Yeah, Steven, 71 series or 53 series, they're out there. Small little 271 or 371 or 353 genset. That would be nice. Yeah, Colin, that's strange. I hope that is something simple with your unit. Like I said, well, like the other guy told you, make sure your brushes are free in the holders. Make sure your slip rings and your commutator bars are clean. Make sure you don't have any mica sticking up between the commutator segments, and see how it does. I'll check the video out, Colin. Yeah. Yeah, Mitzvah. There's a lot of Detroit true Detroits out there still. I mean, I know there's one hospital here in Pennsylvania that we service. They have, oh man, I think they've got 11 different gensets that are Detroits. They have 13 or 14 total gensets at this hospital, various locations, various sizes, and at least 10 or 11 of them are good old 71 and 92 series Detroits. Dave, 133 Dave, yes. Modern emergency gensets are exempt from many emissions control standards. Not all of them, but many of them. It's really because they run under a certain number of hours per year. That's all it really comes down to. They're only to get a non-tier rated diesel genset. It can only run X amount of hours per year. Any more than that, and you fall into a different category as far as the installation goes. Hi, Scout. Come on. What are you doing, buddy? Scott, as far as brushes go, I use a place, it's called Repco. They're actually maybe half an hour from me here in New Jersey. And you can pretty much order brushes by size from them, by size and by composition. So I try to order, actually there's 3 ways. You can get them by size, by composition, and by the pigtail, the brush pigtail. So I will typically purchase whatever size is closest to what I need if they don't have exactly what I need, and then I can trim it down, file it, or do whatever once I get it. But the prices are reasonable. There's no reason to pay ridiculous money for brushes. They're out there. Company's called Repco in, I think it's Marlton, New Jersey. Mm. Scott, I don't know. Yeah. I've never looked for carbon brush stock. I usually just buy whatever's closest to what I need. It's already got the pigtail on it. Just pop it in, you're ready to go. Yes, wet stacking is definitely an issue with Detroit's. Yeah, that the 12V149 I was working on yesterday. That's on it's a 750 kilowatt genset, and they have a 500 kilowatt load bank um, in the building permanently installed. So anytime the genset runs for testing, it gets at least 500 kilowatt worth of load on it. Yep, motor shops will have brushes typically. Yeah, New Jersey has it, or no one does. Yeah, New Jersey's not that bad. It's not the horrible place most people make it out to be. At least not my part of town, not my part of Jersey. Just taxes are high. That's all. Buddy Light, thank you. Appreciate you stopping in. Steven, wet stacking. Wet stacking is when you don't get complete combustion in a diesel engine. You'll get unburnt fuel and soot build up in your exhaust, and it can get pretty serious to where it'll actually restrict exhaust flow in the engine, and it'll cause performance to lack. Hence the term wet stacking. You get unburnt wet fuel in your exhaust stack, but that's not that's not the only place it'll damage the engine. You'll get build up around your piston rings. You'll get washed down and glazed cylinders. You'll get it built up around your valves, around your injector tips. It's no good. So diesel gen sets should always be run, in my opinion, they should always be run at least 50% load. So you got to get those combustion temperatures up. Yeah, wet stack sets force on fire. Yeah. Yeah, there's I've load banked a few gen sets that haven't had good load bank in years, and I've actually I about set my hair on fire one time, but that was from a rusted out muffler, not a piece of carbon. Wow, we've been on for an hour and 15 minutes already. 133 Dave. The Detroit's run away. I've never seen a Detroit run away, but most of the units that I service they're tested regularly, so they don't tend to sit very long. I did have a service call on one unit. It was up in North Jersey. Is a bridge across the river between Jersey City and is it Jersey City and Staten Island or Jersey City and Newark? I don't even remember. But the bridge had a 671 Detroit on the span. It was a lift bridge. And if the power went out to operate the lift motors, you would have to go up on the span, start the Detroit up, engage the clutch, and manually raise the generator or manually raise the bridge span. And that thing hadn't been running in a number of years. And I went up there. They wanted me to look it over and see if I could get it running. And the first thing you do on a Detroit that hasn't been running a long time is you pop the valve covers and you make sure the fuel rack for the injectors is free. And sure enough, that one was stuck at wide open throttle, so that thing would have revved to the moon if I would have started it up. But most Detroits on generators have the shutdown dampers, the air dampers, that if they do overspeed, or if you for whatever reason can't shut them down, you push a button and a little solenoid pops a catch and an air damper drops on the intake for the blower, and that'll shut them down. Just cut the air off, choke them off. Yeah, Steve. I've had a couple close encounters with some exhaust flames in my time. But you said it backfired, huh? Ugh. Yeah, that can be fun. Wakes you up. Frank. Wow, I appreciate that, Frank. Yeah, just like Mitzvah says, Dave. Detroit's will have the overspeed shutdown on the blower. Buddy, yeah, that I actually sold that Onan already. That's already gone. That went to a fellow down in Maryland or Virginia. Came up here to pick it up. Was going to put it on his service truck. Yeah, Stephen, definitely. Yeah, have to pray the emergency flap works. But it can be operated manually. But if the engine's racing, I don't want to be the one to walk over there, reach my hand up and top, and flip the catch. I'm gonna be out. Yeah, Mitzvah. That's the problem with the damper. If you suck the oil seals in, well, then you got to go in there and pull the blower out and have that resealed. But I guess it beats picking up engine pieces if the thing blows up. What are you doing? What are you doing, buddy? What are you doing? Nothing. Charlie, anything on? I'll have to go back. I must have missed your question, Charlie. What did you ask? Let me go back. Government issue, 3 kilowatt. And what kind of engine does it have on it, Charlie? Government issue, was it diesel or gas? Two-cylinder Imperial diesel. No, I can't say I've worked on one of those. That's interesting. Detroit starting up backwards. Yeah. Oh, thanks for stopping in, Sean. Let me see if I can find anything on that. Charlie, can you give me any more information about that Imperial? Is it a two-stroke? I'm not familiar with it. What's the RPM of that genset? What does it need to run at? Oh yeah, we'll be at Jacktown. We'll be at Jacktown this summer, Colin. Yep. Around 25 horsepower, huh? So what's loud about it, Charlie? Is it just the exhaust note? Yeah, it's a good one. It's a good one, Mitzvah. Yeah. What's a simple description for an inverter genset, Dave? Well, a simple description would be the genset, the engine itself, the generator that the engine is turning is typically a three-phase AC generator, permanent magnet AC generator. And then the output of that like I said, is three-phase AC, typically at a pretty high frequency. That is fed to the inverter itself, which is pretty usually just a module, a block, a big potted block with all the electronics in it. Then that three-phase is rectified to DC and then chopped up electronically with power transistors or whatever, and then it's pulsed in the positive and the negative direction to create what is usually a modified sine wave or a modified square wave. So instead of having a nice smooth sine wave like a utility has, you get something like this, like a stepped wave, as the transistors are opening and closing, pulsing rather. And does it make non-inverter gens obsolete? No, not by any means, I would say. It's just a different technology. So the exhaust is loud, Charlie. So could your valve timing be off? Could your injection timing be off? You get any flames out of the exhaust or anything like that? Yeah, Colin, we'll be up there. So we'll probably be set up in the trees, in the grove of trees. So you'll see probably the little Briggs engines, and then you'll know that's us. But yeah, going back to what Dave asked about the inverter generators and making the non-inverter gens obsolete. No, I would say that that's not the case. But the synchronous generators, i.e. the non-inverter generators, they're just so simple compared to an inverter. And even the actual generator of an inverter generator is simple as well, but it's that big block of electronics that you have to worry about overloading or overheating and failing. That's the part that you got to worry about. Yeah, like Mitzvah says, perfect sine wave. A synchronous generator by its design, a function of its design is a perfect sine wave output. Large scale inverter generators. Well, I don't know. I have never come across anything bigger than like a Honda, 8,000 or 9,000 watt, whatever. Well, you said 7,500 watt Honda. That's about the biggest I've seen. There are certainly larger inverters out there. A UPS is an inverter. So, but I don't think I've ever seen anything in a commercial use genset. I'm sure specialty stuff exists out there, but it's not common. Not that I'm aware of. Certainly, you won't see anything like that in the commercial market, like backing up critical care equipment or in hospitals. That's all going to be trusted true synchronous generator technology. Certainly nothing inverter out yet for that. Mitzvah, I don't know when the Jacktown show is actually. Let's pull that up here on the internet, on the Google. Let's see when their summer show is. Oh, July 17th, 18th, and 19th. I'm going to actually post that. go. Does the inverter make cleaner power? Well, depends how you define clean power. Do you define clean power as a true sine wave or as an output with no noise in it? And when I say noise, I mean that typically a small genset will put out a nice sine wave, but if you were to look at the waveform itself, you'd see some spikes along its path, little variations, little jumps in voltage and dips in voltage, really tiny stuff, which can sometimes be a problem. Maybe depends on what the load is, unfortunately. But where most inverters, at least cheaper inverters, will output that modified square wave, like I said, like that stepped wave. Now, I think Honda bills themselves as putting out a true sine wave. So they're actually making the sinusoidal waveform. I've never hooked up an inverter genset to an oscilloscope to see what the waveform is. That's actually now I'm kind of getting into another video that I want to make eventually, is like Dave is asking, what is clean power, and what is the power quality of the various types of generator ends that's out there now. You know, there's so many different types. There's the revolving old school, revolving armature, stationary field generators, the old stuff that I work on. Then you have brushed revolving field generators that are capacitor regulated. You've got brushed revolving field generators that are automatic, that are regulated with an automatic voltage regulator and electronic voltage regulator. You've got revolving field generators that are capacitor regulated, that are brushless revolving field generators. You got revolving field generators that are brushless with an automatic voltage regulator. Then you got inverter generators, and maybe more that I left out. So there's a few different styles of generator end. They all work to the same end, but they have different means of achieving that end. That was kind of a ramble, wasn't it? Nash guy, how you doing? All right, take it easy, Colin. All right, where are we at here? Jeff, yes. Yeah, if you've got if you're running a three-phase motor, lines A, B, and C, or 1, 2, and 3 should all have the same fuse in it. Yes, Dave. If it's an inverter genset, most of them will, well, the 99% of them will vary the engine RPM with the load, and they're able to do that because the genset itself is putting out three-phase AC, which then gets rectified to DC, which then gets chopped up to AC again. So the engine speed has no bearing on the generator's out or on the inverter's output frequency. Now, with a synchronous generator, engine speed is directly related to output frequency. You can't vary the engine speed. Now, there are synchronous generators out there that have kind of skirted that rule, and they have that idle down feature where when there's no load on the genset, they will idle the engine, and then as soon as they detect some load, they'll ramp it back up to rated speed. Yeah, old school repair shop. Give me a sec here. Let me go on my channel and see if I can't find that email. I thought I had. I could swear that I had posted it. Yeah, Old School Repair Shop. If you go to my channel, just go to my main channel, and then there's, what is there, 6 tabs: home, videos, playlist, community, channels, and about. If you click the about tab, on that page it'll say details, and you can click view email address. That should give you my email, so let me know if that works for you. You ever head to upstate New York? No, I can't say I get up there very often. Yeah, Jeff, each fuse should have the same protection. Yeah, Steve. Yeah, certainly. You could have an inverter genset to make to have 3-phase output. Absolutely, could. At that point, it's a variable frequency drive, like they use on air conditioning equipment out in the industrial world. Yep. Yeah, with modern electronics, you can do whatever you want with the power. You can chop it up, rectify it, make it smooth, 3-phase, vary the frequency. You can do pretty much anything with, high power switching components that they have out nowadays. Updates on the cat, Acid Brain, Brian, Acid Brian. Updates on the cat, not really. I worked on it a little bit today. I'm still in the process of cleaning out the crankcase, working on that a little at a time. It's almost done now. The next step is to flush out the oil galleries, and then I'm going to pull the camshaft. I didn't intend to, but I'm going to pull the camshaft out so I can buff up all the lobes and check the bearings and all that good stuff. Different brands of standby generators for houses. We're actually, the company I work for is actually a Cummins dealer. So we sell Cummins branded home standby generators. And really, they're about as good as the next one. If you're talking the difference between a Kohler or a Generac or a Cummins, they're all pretty much the same thing under that housing. V-twin air cooled engine spinning a generator end, 18 or 3600 RPM. The controllers are a little bit different. Some might have more features than the other, but really, they're pretty much the same thing. Steve, yeah, the cat generator. Yeah, I'd like to get that done. It's rated at 66 kilowatt, 480 volt, but it's reconnectable. It was connected for 240 volt where it was installed originally, 240 volt 3-phase, but the data plate says 480 volt 3-phase. When a generator is running with no load, yes, there is still voltage being produced on the output leads to the generator set. So the cats are wrestling. Oh man, the cats. You okay over there? Well, anyway, yes, there is still technically electricity being produced because you have potential. Voltage is potential. So there is still voltage being produced when the generator is running. So there is electricity, but there is no current flow. So there is no power. Lee, how you doing? What am I going to do with it when I'm done, Steven? Well, I'd like to keep it on the trailer and display it at the shows in the area. I won't be traveling very far with it because it's a huge thing to be towing all around. But yeah, I'd like to just keep it as a display piece and as a collectible item for me. You know, antique engine generator. That's up my alley. So kind of it's gonna be the pride of the fleet, so to speak. So I plan on just keeping it. Um, what which generator you're talking about, Nash guy? The Cummins, the big Cummins that you saw all over on Road King's channel. That Cummins is just the engine. There's no generator there. It's just a power unit. Does a cat stare at the ceiling? Yeah, cat stares at the ceiling. Where's he at? You talking about the cat that's been walking around the video? He's over there. What are you doing? What are you doing, Scout? Yeah, Nash guy. That's a Cummins Model LP engine. It's actually a lot later than I thought. I think that had a build date of 1950. I think. I thought it was much earlier than that. I thought it was back into the 40s, late 30s, early 40s. It's actually built in 1950. The USS Constitution of Mike's Navy. Buddy Light, you're looking for a generator with an output of 30 amps. Well, you should be looking for like a 4 kilowatt Onan, small, like a 4 CCK or 4 BFA. They're a nice little RV type generator. I think they're 30 amps or so rated. That's if on one if you're using 120 volt system. I'm not sure what the rating is for 240 volt. Probably half that, I guess. Yeah, Stephen. When I say power unit, I don't mean a generator set. I mean a power unit refers to just an engine on a frame with an output, say a clutch or something like that. So it's just a generic name for an engine that can drive whatever you want it to. It could drive a generator, it could drive a boat, it could drive a pump, it could drive a rock crusher, anything like that. Nash guy, the plans for the big Cummins is get it running and enjoy it. Certainly don't think I'm going to be towing that around anytime soon. I'm pretty sure that big Cummins weighs in the neighborhood of about 18,000 pounds as it sits. That's at least what I was told. So definitely not going to be towing that around with my F-250. But yeah, pretty much just get it running. The previous owner, in the years he's owned it, has never been able to get it running. For one reason or another, we're not really sure why it won't start for him. But that's how I like to buy them. I like to buy them as a project. I like to figure it out. Yeah, Lee. Yeah, we got 3 cats running around here, so they are funny animals, jumping all around. I'll check the video out, old school. Yeah, Mitzvah. I actually worked on smaller Cummins that had the supercharger. It was an NS series engine. It was the NS 743, I think, 6-cylinder, kind of the baby brother to the 855 that they made for so many years. That was a cool unit. That was on a generator, actually, at a hospital in Philadelphia. I was on an old Kohler. I think it was maybe 150 kilowatt, something like that. But it was, that thing sat down in a basement, in a electric room, and when you had that running under a load bank, you could be on the top floor on the other side of the building, and you could hear that supercharger screaming, hear it howling down there in the basement. That was a neat engine. Unfortunately, they ended up replacing the unit, and I was not able to get it. I tried to make a deal with the contractor that was doing the replacement, but the scrappers got it, unfortunately. So I tried. Yeah, I could fit that in the trunk. What do I use for a generator for the house? Well, right now I use, I don't have anything hooked up permanently, so I have an old light tower that I took the actual light tower off of, and I use that. It's a little 3-cylinder Kubota engine driving a 6-kilowatt generator. It's nice. It's on a trailer. It's got a little doghouse around it, so you can leave it out in the rain, and it runs the house just fine. I have a 20-kilowatt Onan that I would like to install permanently and run on natural gas, but that's a project for another day. Any plans to generate power with steam, hopper? No, actually. I don't have any plans right now for any kind of steam work. Dave, that's pretty neat. Built a welder with a Westinghouse streetcar motor and a 1927 Holt engine. That's interesting. I'd like to see that. That's very interesting. Oh, thanks for stopping in, Doozer. Oh. Yeah. Yeah, YouTube's a funny place, Steven. Oh, I appreciate the offer, Doozer. Yeah, time does fly. Man, it's been almost 2 hours already. 10:30. Actually, I have to get up a little early tomorrow. Road King and I are taking a trip down to Maryland to pick up some generators. So I think I'm going to sign off, everybody. Appreciate everybody stopping in. I enjoy these live streams. I'm going to try to do this on a more frequent basis. And feel free to toss out any video ideas or give me an email. The email's on the channel, on my channel there. Send me an email if you have any ideas for videos or want to request a specific video on a specific topic. I'll try to fit it in. So good talking to everybody. All right. Have a good night.